1. I worked in the call center of a home security brand that is now tanking due to all the lawsuits they have going on. In my 2 years there, I had a lot of crazy people. It's a home security brand after all, and those things are beacons to the insane, but none came close to the experience I watched the new kid go through. This happened a year after I started. At this point, I'm one of their top trainers and one of their best customer reps. I also have the highest number of cancelled accounts, and the sales team hated me. After a week of training this new red-headed 17-year-old boy, Jack, he finally got his own station next to me. On holidays or weekends, we were usually slow. I fondly remember a Sunday where I got no calls. During our downtime, we could read or work on homework, so I was reading a book when Jack gets a call.
Hello, and thank you for calling Bane of My Existence Security. I'm Jack. Can I get your name?
At first, the call sounded normal. A dude called us because the wait for tech support was 3.5 hours and his sales rep gave him our number. Even though we are tech support for the sales reps, but okay. Dude needed help setting up his outdoor camera. This is common as the damn things are cheaper than a bad hooker and work less. So Jack is walking him through the process. This usually takes about 20 minutes, an hour if the customer is elderly. After 30 minutes, Jack is getting frustrated and the dude is yelling at him. I look up from my book to listen in. I was given access to listen in on calls as part of the may be recorded for quality assurance. This dude is ripping Jack a new one.
Where are your headquarters located? You guys are a scam.
Duh, it's a DIY security system, what did you expect? He then threatens to sexually assault his mother and sister. Hold up now. This dude is beyond cussing. But Jack, being a champ, hangs in there.
Sir, I'm just trying to help you install your camera. If you would download the app.
App? They haven't even done the first step. I wave the manager over as we will need their permission to hang up on the customer. As if sensing the impending end to the call, our dude chills out and says,
Fine, I'll download your damn tracking app.
I motion for the manager to hang around just in case. Not 10 minutes later, Jack is getting yelled at.
I just googled it and your damn HQ's in Utah. Utah! I bet you're one of those Mormons. You Mormons are thieves. Thieves, I tell you. I met you in a past life and you robbed me then too.
None of us that I knew of were Mormon, nor did it matter, as our manager would later explain to him. I'm laughing while Jack is hitting his head against the desk, his face as red as his hair. How would you even know if you met me in a past life? What if I was a chicken? Can chickens rob people?
Who's your God? Is your God the one true King, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ? Or is your God the fallen archangel Satan?
I'm dying. The manager had left at this point, since she thought the call would go smoothly. In my laughing fit I wheeze, Mushu! My God is Mushu, the dragon of my ancestors. The people around us break down laughing, but the thing was, our mics are really sensitive. I didn't know that, no one told me.
I knew it, you're devil worshippers!
Someone ran out to grab the manager, but they had left for the day, and the tech support manager just told us to tell the dude that a manager will speak to him tomorrow, and leave a note on her desk. Jack motions for me to shut up, but I can't, so I get up and take a couple of laps around the building to calm down. When I came back, the call had ended. Jack said the dude began accusing him of being a robot before speaking like a robot. The dude agreed to a manager calling him tomorrow. I believe our manager at the time walked him through setting up the camera, but he called back a little over a month later for help installing them. That was my call with him, but it wasn't nearly as entertaining as Jack's, but I might share it one day. 2. I used to work for an energy company that also offered telephony services, phone and internet. Specifically in a department that dealt with people moving home, but would occasionally assist on the general queries line if needed. One day I received a phone call from a woman who wanted to discuss a complaint that she had opened with another colleague the week before, as she wanted an update. I took her details as usual. However, I didn't see a complaint on her telephony account at all. I double-checked the account number to make sure I heard it correctly, and she confirmed it was correct. She said that she spoke with a certain colleague who was going to look into something regarding a payment. I checked to see if she had any other accounts with us. Lo and behold, she had her electricity with the company as well, and to my amazement, there was an open complaint on her electricity account. I read the opening note out of curiosity, and it matched exactly what the woman was asking for. I assured the woman there is no complaint on her telephony account. However, I mentioned to her that I could see an open complaint regarding her electricity account, and asked if she was calling about that. The woman then told me not to touch her electricity account because someone else was dealing with that, and was going to call her back, and that she wanted to discuss the open complaint on her telephony account. I told her again that there was no open complaint. However, if she could tell me when it was she initially called to raise it, I could check to see if we had the call on record. I'd also just like to point out that there was never a complaint on her telephony account up until this call. Up until now, I was probably 10 minutes into the call already. The woman became very angry with me and outright told me I was being racist. I was taken aback because I was fairly certain I said nothing that would insinuate anything of the sort. She told me that I was racially profiling her and said that I could obviously tell from her voice that she was a black woman, the same way she assumed I was a young white man by my voice. I tried to reassure her that I was just trying to get to the bottom of her query. However, she constantly shouted over me that I am a racist, and to stop denying it. She proceeded to tell me about how she is regularly racially profiled on a daily basis, and that she'd fed up with it. By this point, we were 30 minutes into the call. I tried to apologize for any misunderstanding, and to assure her that I wasn't racially profiling her at all. However, she would not listen. She then proceeded to tell me all about her encounters with racist people while shopping, and started telling me of one such incident where she went shopping in a department store and was being followed and confronted by members of staff. By this point, I gave up and just muted my mic, because trying to reason with her at this point was futile. She would occasionally pause her story to ask if I was still there, to which I would just unmute myself and tell her I was, but she'd cut me off before I could salvage the call. This first story went on for no less than 1 hour, and no one else in the call center had realized how long I had been on the same call for. While muted, I asked my colleague next to me to flag a manager, which they did. However, all they did was ask if I was okay and just shrugged it off before I could explain the situation. Meanwhile, the woman, calling from her landline, I should add, started to go into another story, where she was racially profiled in public, and occasionally paused to check that I was, again, still listening. Midway through the second story, coming up to around 1 hour and 40 minutes by now, the same manager came back to ask what I was doing, as they'd only just realized that I'd been on a call for nearly 2 hours. I told them the situation, which they finally listened to in its entirety, and told me to stop her from talking and take back control of the call, despite me telling them that I had tried no less than 10 times. I even proved it to them by unmuting myself and trying to interrupt her story, but the woman berated me for trying to talk over her, as she hadn't finished yet, and just continued. Now I started to get people looking over at me, as 2 other managers have walked over at this point to find out what I was doing. While the 3 of them were becoming more flustered than I was at that point, some of my other colleagues in the immediate vicinity were starting to laugh quietly while they continued taking other calls. The managers then walked away, and I realized that the call had exceeded the 2-hour mark. Finally, the woman stopped talking long enough for me to get a sentence in. I spoke in a calm manner, and reiterated the complaint that she quoted to me at the very beginning of the call, and asked her if I had recounted it correctly. She said I did. I then explained to her that the complaint she described matched the complaint on her electricity account, and that I just wanted to establish which account she intended to call about. Whether she wanted to discuss her electricity complaint, to which I would need to transfer the call, or whether there was a separate complaint regarding her telephony services that may not have been properly logged. At last, the woman understood what I was saying, and did not offer any sort of apology for screaming down the phone at me for those last 2 hours. Instead, she told me that she had to tell me her story because of how angry she gets with people making unfair assumptions about her. She then confirms that it was her electricity complaint she was calling about, and she asked me to pass her call through. I instead gave her the number for the department so that she wouldn't incur any further call charges. Logged the entire mess as a resolved complaint on her telephony account, and literally threw my headset across the table in frustration when the call finally ended after around 2 hours and 15 minutes. Like, I get it. I'll never fully understand what it's like to be the subject of the sort of racial discrimination that she described. But I can certainly appreciate how upsetting it must be to those who have had to endure it. I have witnessed one of my best friends be subjected to it. I don't know whether it was something I said that triggered her, or if something happened to her earlier in the day, but I would like to assume that asking for clarification on something isn't considered a hate crime. Also, management really weren't any help, and I dread to think how long it would have taken them to notice me if I hadn't asked my colleague to flag one of them down first. 3. Small bit of background. I work for a software company. My job is software support analyst. We provide a kind of CRM system for recruitment agencies and the staffing industry. We also allow users to access an API that lets them pull information onto other applications they may have, such as website widgets and such, to show what jobs they are recruiting for. Ticket came into my queue after hours last Friday, marked as critical. Basically, the highest level we can give a ticket. This is for when the whole system is down, they lose functionality, or everyone can't work. I see it in my queue on Monday and go, oh, what fresh hell awaits me first thing on a Monday morning. The user we will call Cookie. Cookie emails in saying their website is no longer pulling in job applications from our software to display on their website recruitment page. They are demanding it be fixed right now, or they wish to speak to a manager. Usual stuff you'd expect from customer, known to throw fits when they don't get all of our attention. I decided to chug down a triple shot espresso to wake up and be customer-facing friendly. I give her a call as she is unhappy. Our best practice is to call them. The phone call goes as such. Hello, this is OP calling from software company regarding ticket number 12345. Finally, I've tried calling you idiots several times in the past few days and no answer. This is shit customer service. How dare you charge us this much money for a service that doesn't even work? I am mute. Take a deep breath in. I am sorry you had to experience that. We try our best to get back to users' tickets as soon as possible. Let us take a look at this and get this issue resolved for you now on the phone. She tried calling during the weekend, when we are closed. The phone line even says we're closed when they call in. I expect to have an email from the billing department to demand we are reimbursed for the time the system has been downed. Of course, I will be happy to assist with that after we resolve the current issue and see what the cause is. Is that all right with you? Fix it now. I don't have all day to waste on low-skill customer support reps like you, just reading from a script. Why do we waste so much money on this fucking support contract? I grit my teeth and bear it. I worked for retail customer service phones. This is nothing. To jump ahead, I go through the basic diagnosis questions. When did this start? At what time? Such and such. All the usual things. Customer getting more irate and condescending. After taking my notes and getting as much information as I can, I decide I'll need to see why the API has stopped pulling through data to their website. Okay, great. Thanks so much for that information. I'll need to take this call offline while I go investigate the You are useless. I want to speak to a manager right now. This issue needs resolved ASAP. We pay for a service we are not getting. I understand what you're saying. I need to come off the phone so I can go look into this issue. I will let a senior member know you wish to talk about this situation after I come off this call, and they will come back to you. I demand a manager now. Get up from your little desk and go find them. I work remotely, so there are no managers I can readily grab to pass the phone to. So, as I said, I will message one to contact you at some point today, while I go and look into this for you. She huffs and puffs down the phone, then eventually resigns to the fact that I won't budge for her demands. Fine then, I expect an update every hour, you hear me? Every hour until this is fixed. No problem at all. I can keep you in the loop on the ticket you created. If there's anything else I can help you with. She ends the call. After the phone call, I then set forth and went looking through the system, making sure the API configuration was correct and pointing at the right place. Their API credentials were live and connected. Well, they were trying to connect, but something wasn't allowing the data to pull through. It turns out the API user account on the customer side was disabled. I checked the logs and then started cackling with laughter. Some of you might already know what's coming and be grinning already. I take a screenshot of the log up to the point the user account was disabled. I then re-enable the API account, make sure the connection is coming through, then check the customer's website, and sure enough, now the job postings are coming through now. My email. I respond back to the user, paraphrasing a bit here. I also CC in the user's manager on this email chain and also send my manager the ticket number saying keep an eye on this. Thanks for the information you have provided on the phone today. After checking, I can see that the user account in control of the function that lets the website talk to our systems was disabled. Cookie's email in response. Then why did that happen? Is our system so useless that things just happen automatically? I demand a manager call me back regarding this appalling service. At this point, I'm grinning ear to ear. I respond to the email. After investigating, I have found that the user account was disabled by yourself around the time the website was having issues. I attach a screenshot of the log with another screenshot zoomed in on her username and last edited. As this issue was not actually a critical issue, and it does not affect your ability to use our software, and is just a bonus you can access via our API, we'll now bring it in line with policy and mark it as low non-critical ticket. The website is now able to post jobs again. Is there anything else you require today? A few hours go past. I come back from lunch and see the ticket has a new notification now, this time from the manager.
Can you please disable Cookie's account and reset the password for these accounts she has access to?
And he gives me a list of accounts. Now, usually we don't do this for customers. We tell them or show them how, and they do it themselves, but I was feeling generous. Sure thing, no problem at all. I action what they asked and let them know it's all done. They thank me and I close the ticket. Towards the end of my shift, I check the ticket queue and see a bounce back notification. It was for another issue Cookie had raised. I guess this time it was the final straw because the bounce back email read, Cookie no longer works for the company. Please direct all queries to contact mailbox. 4. I do not want to sound like an overly optimistic person. I'm not. Nor do I care about the company I work for in any way or their stats. But I've been working in call centers for a long time. I make decent money at this point in time. But every time I answer the phone, I am filled with dread and almost hatred towards the person I am speaking to. Is this the person's fault or mine? I'd say neither. Humans were not made to communicate in the ways we are forced to now. With hundreds of strangers a day navigating a huge bureaucracy. Often I find myself siding with the company over some bullshit policy they have simply because I know the client will get angry. Clients become non-human to me. Just something to endure and kick off my line. Personally, I don't have huge career goals besides being comfortable. I have stayed in call centers for this reason, despite having certifications and experience that could put me into an off-the-phone, but much more stressful role. So if I'm going to be here, how do I make the best of my time? I've been taking a step back and remembering each customer as a human being. Yes, even the snotty ones. Some I don't bother with, but many are actually just fearful and have no one. For instance, I realized a lot of recent widows put up a front of anger and bitterness because they're afraid. Their husbands did everything for them, and they want to appear like they know too so they don't get screwed over. Older people in general act like technology is an issue and not themselves, because they are terrified that they exist in a world where they cannot do basic tasks. All it takes is kindness and non-patronizing patience, and I swear these people act like you've made their year. And maybe you have because you're treating them like a human in a vast sea of bureaucracy and hold times and institutions. And maybe their family visits them once a week as the only real human contact. I also go out of my way to waive fees for people because personally, I care more about people than my corporation, and I sort of like the thought of using all the powers I have to help a common human at the cost of my job. I'm in a position where I can even send gifts, so if there's a customer going through a particularly hard time, I'll send flowers on the company's dime. I'm not saying this is easy or even makes the job better, but I feel like it allows me to work on my own self as a human being, in one of the most demanding trials to do so that exists. So my time isn't wasted. 5. Thank you for contacting support. Can I start by getting your name and number?
My name is Big Phony, and my number is 12345.
Upon pulling up the number, I can see the names don't match. This happens from time to time. I check to see if it's a nickname. It's not. I check to see if she might be using a friend's phone. Maybe hers is broken. She is not.
No, there's no nickname on there, just my email.
Oh, can I get that instead?
Sure.
Sure enough, the name on that email matches hers. I set up the case and ask her what's wrong. She weaves me a tale of red flags. Her earbuds were broken. They had awful static noises and nobody could hear her on the phone. She reached out for help and got rebuffed several times. 1, before finally speaking to an escalations rep and being given a satisfaction code. 2, so that the replacement would be done for free and she would not have to return the defective pair. In October, she told me that no emails about the replacement ever came. 3, and that she meant to follow up on the replacement that never arrived, but got so busy with the holidays that here she was, at the tail end of 2022, calling me to ask where the replacement was. 4, she was also worried that they might have sent it to the wrong address. What's the address you wanted it sent to? She gives me the address. The gears in my head are grinding. I see that it doesn't match the address on this repair and tell her as such. She is very clearly unhappy. And the beginnings of suspicion are building in my brain, but it could be worse after all. Picture it. She's been through customer service hell, burdened with the holidays, and now has missed a gift meant to ease her spirits. I have to be optimistic about this or I'll cry. I tell her that I'll look into it, put her on hold, and reach out to Escalation Rep 1. If the order was still in progress, I'd reach out to the shipping rep, but it's clearly not that, and the order was covered by a satisfaction code. I can't issue those. Escalation Rep 1 is very sympathetic and understands where I'm coming from. She also points out something I had seen but been afraid to mention. Big Phony's history is absolutely littered with satisfaction codes and gifts, like more than any other person's I've seen. And I've been working here for months. Every 1 in 20 people have a code or gift. This is beyond suspicious. However, am I allowed to call her on this? Not at all. Escalation Rep 1 advises me to contact the shipping rep to see if anything at all can be done, and even puts it in her notes that she's advised me to do so, though it goes against our policies. I pop in, tell Big Phony I'm working on it and to hang tight, put back my barrier of overpaid 2010s pop music in place, and contact the shipping rep. They aren't sure why I contacted them, but to their credit they do their best. They say wisely that nothing can be done on their end, and after all, who could blame them? The package was delivered in October. It's gone. Whoever has it is not giving it back. They advise me to contact the Customer Relations Department, which will involve my reaching out to Escalations once more. Escalation Rep 2 is baffled. He states that it's beyond unrealistic for someone to be expecting a package in October and just not get around to it until New Year's. He's right. We both know it. Neither of us can say it. He advises that I verify Big Phony, which simply involves sending a pop-up to her registered devices for her to click on, so that I'm allowed to give her personal information. The information in this case is the UPS tracking number for the repair. Escalations Rep 2 says I should advise her to contact UPS, give them the number, and ask if there's anything we can do. All but the basic information from our system is gone after 30 days. It's probably gone from the UPS system too, but it's our best bet. Escalations Rep 2 says that I should also gently advise her to contact us after 10 days if the package is not delivered, as we want her to get her things in a timely manner. If all else fails, I can set up a new repair for her, but she'll have to pay for it. Red flags begin raining from the sky. While she had been sweet and quiet before, she now speaks to me as if I'm a bug under her boot. I explain that verifying is a common practice we do, and that it isn't meant to convey suspicion on our part. We just want to give her this internal information. What information, you ask? The tracking number. We go in circles for a couple of minutes before it all clicks for her, or maybe she's tired of jerking me around. She begins to scream at me with that shrill, ear-piercing banshee shriek, stating that UPS can't do anything about it. I know this. I feel like someone put clown makeup on me and threw me to a pack of bored children. She cries that we need to make this right. We both know that nobody is capable of resolving this situation short of breaking down that mystery person's door and stealing the earbuds back from them. I apologize and offer to set up a new replacement for her. This seems to soothe the beast. But only for a brief moment. And your total is...
You mean I have to pay for this? This is your guy's fault. Don't you get that? I told that guy I had a new address, not in the notes, and that I hadn't lived there for 6 months. You need to make it right. I already paid for this repair.
She did not pay. She did not. She is trying to intimidate me and confuse me. It's working. I stifle my shakes, apologize, and say I'll look into another way to make this right. She's clearly fuming, but agrees to let me do that. I reach out to the man of the hour. Escalations Rep 3. I get about halfway through my explanation before he gently cuts me off and says that this person clearly knows the system and how to game it. He counts all the codes and gifts in her history with the glee of a child counting presents on Christmas morning. I can tell he's itching to knock her down a peg. I apologize for bringing this to him and ask if there's anything else I could have done. He tells me the previous case, which was 3 months old and thus could not be continued by me, is owned by a different department. Am I a part of that department? No, I stammer, nearly crying. But I do support these earbuds and these shipping issues, so I thought... He cuts me off. Are you a part of this department? No, I say, finally, understanding the meaning of his words. His gift to me, he reassures me. Tells me that I've done a great job and takes over the call. I introduce him, leave, and take an unplanned 3-minute break. It's the first time I've used my away ox. I don't care. Nobody says anything to me about it. I'm free. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Please Hold, episode 22. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video, and a big round of applause to all the hard work you guys do. My partner does it for a living, so I know the trials you have to deal with the interesting people you encounter. It's not to say that everybody you call up and ask for help from will be very good at their job, but generally speaking, give people a chance before you start yelling, yeah? Okay, let's see. No special shoutouts today, so we're just going to move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. Today's question is... Are famous people dying at larger rates now than they used to? Or are we just noticing it more? I'm inclined to believe it's probably more that it seems that way rather than it actually is. And I think the reason for that is the people that were big names, the people that are kind of the icons, that are part of our life, that are part of our childhood, that we remember growing up, that have just always seemed like they were always there and would always be there. They're getting older too. And so they're passing away more frequently because they're at that age. Not accounting, of course, for the people who die at shockingly young ages. We had a few of those last year, of course. So I don't think the Grim Reaper is necessarily working overtime. I think it just looks that way because people that matter to us a little more, at least those in the public eye, please leave your answer, or any comment really, below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.